Good evening, Lutz, and welcome back to News at 9. This is a segment we call Beyond the Brochure. Here we have Hillary Powell, Public Relations Director for ASPLU. So Hillary, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So what does PR do?
That's a great question. I run all the social media for ASPLU, so Twitter and Facebook right now. We also have an Instagram account that not necessarily a lot of people know about, so if you have Instagram, we really encourage you to look us up. And then also I handle all of the relations between the Mast, and so a lot of the stories that you see in there come from my press releases or interviews that I've set up for all of our higher ups and execs. And then also really just getting the word out about campus, about all the different events that ASPLU is doing.
So pretty much you go out and you interview people, you plan events, and you tell people about it.
More than telling the people about it, yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot of people who plan the events for me and that's like their sole job in ASPLU. So I really am just making sure that we get a lot of people to go.
All right, do you feel like that this year compared to past years has been a better turnout, or has it kind of been roughly the same old song and dance?
Actually, one of the things that we've realized this year is that not necessarily as many people are turning out to events, and that's something that we've been working on throughout the year, and we don't know necessarily what's the best way to reach the students. So we've been trying kind of different methods throughout the year, but it's definitely been a lower year for turnout, just really events all around campus, not necessarily just ASPLU events.
Okay, so that's why you've kind of been turning more towards the social media, Facebook, Twitter, where we're in a generation where people always have their heads down.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said you have these Twitter and Facebook accounts. How would we find ASPLU?
So for Twitter, it's at ASPLU_Lutz, and for Facebook, it's just ASPLU, so the Associated Students of Pacific Lutheran University.
Okay, so it's fairly easy to find.
Really easy to find.
And then for the Instagram, which isn't as easy to find.
Right.
What is it?
You kind of have to search for it. Same as our Twitter account. So it's ASPLU_Lutz.
Okay, and you post just kind of occasional pictures like event going on, picture time.
Pretty much, yeah. And then finding the best screen for it and everything.
Okay. So what exactly does ASPLU do on campus? I did an interview earlier this year where I had the president of RHC or RHA. How does ASPLU differ, or works in cohesion with RHA? What does ASPLU kind of do that's unique?
So one of the things, we actually are kind of twofold. So we have our student government side where we have a 15-person Senate right now, which is made up of at-large senators and also residence hall senators. And then, so that's really the government. They pass legislation, write bills, and then we have the programming side. So we're actually the largest programmer on campus, and we plan spring formal, homecoming dances, hump, which is actually ending this year, and we'll have our final hump coming up. And so we kind of are twofold in that way, where we differ from RHA because we're not necessarily just residence hall associated, but we also do team up with them. We teamed up with them for the Eric Hutchinson concert at homecoming, and then also for gender neutral housing proposal that's just gone through. Okay.
So on the lines of gender neutral housing, that's kind of been a big step forward for PLU as a whole community. What's something that ASPLU has done recently to a bill that was passed to try and make student life better on campus?
Besides G&H?
Besides G&H, because that's been the hot topic forever. Let's find something that's not as well known and still get ASPLU name priced on it.
Right. So one of the things that we're working on is along the lines of sustainability. Our sustainability director has been working really hard at trying to make as many events waste-free. So we have a bill and legislation right now that's going through on that, and so they're making some adjustments to it. Also with student involvement, specifically with government side, we had Loot Vote, which actually just won a grant from the Secretary of State of Washington. So she'll be coming to campus in May, and that was a really great success for us and our diversity director. Also really just providing funds to different organizations on campus as well, to help with them put on events for students.
All right, what exactly is Loot Vote?
Great question. Loot Vote is a program that was started by Carter Brewer, who is our diversity director this year, and it started in September as a way for students to become educated voters pretty much, and also to register students to vote. So we met and exceeded our goal of 300 students, and we registered about 330. and also put on different events to make sure that when elections did come around, they knew what they were voting for and what everything stood for. And Loot Vote will continue throughout the years, not just in election year, to really make sure that all students are registered, and whether that be in Washington State or their home state, and also educated on what they're voting on.
Okay, and having registered this year, just because that's when I turned 18,
Right.
I definitely, that was actually a really good thing, being able to see the people around. But not only be on the positive, what were some things that you feel like you could change for next year, bringing more people in to kind of register and be involved and be informed voters?
Well, I think that'll be a challenge for whoever is in charge of Loot Vote next year, as Carter's graduating, and that it's not an election year. But I think we don't necessarily realize as students how much the things that are on the ballot affect us. And so whether that be holding forums or events to really just educate the students of PLU and just around the community on how these will affect their daily lives, I think it's going to be really important for whoever takes that over.
And that's where you come in to inform them of everything that they could do.
Right, exactly. All of the events that they could go to.
Suddenly the PR becomes relevant.
Yes, exactly. I like to think it's relevant all the time, but yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
So what grade are you in?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior, so you're graduating this year.
Yes.
How, is this your only year being PR, or?
Yeah, this is, well, there wasn't a PR position for a couple years before this, so this is
Okay.
the first year that's been reinstated.
Okay, what's one of the biggest highlights that you've seen through this year, just being like growth between yourself, or just kind of things you've seen on campus that are just going to stick with you for the rest of your life?
I think definitely GNH is one of them, and just how involved students have been in the process. And then also, I think that when we did our community dialogue day, that there was a lot on both sides, a lot of opinions on both sides, and that was a lot of great experience for me as PR to try and figure out how it was best to describe to the students what Dialogue Day and the heart of Dialogue Day was really all about. And so those are two really cool things that I'm going to be coming away with, and then helping all of the other directors and all of their different events. Okay.
Getting involved in ASPU, how difficult or how easy was it to kind of fit in and be on as a part of everything?
I'd been involved in ASPLU just a little bit before becoming a director, so I was on the entertainment committee, which falls under our programs director, but I really hadn't been involved much before that or after that experience. So I just applied because I had PR experience and that was my major, and have really found it to become my family. I'm sad to be leaving all of them, and it's fun to just come in and hang out and work with all of my friends and be able to bounce ideas off of everybody. And it was super easy to get involved. A majority of our directors weren't involved with ASPLU before joining this year. And so we really want everybody to apply for director positions or to run for Senate or volunteer. There's a bunch of ways to get involved.
So really it's kind of a learning experience among people that may have been involved or may haven't been involved, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So when are elections this year?
So elections are actually kind of in the process now. So we have primaries for vice president, which will be this Thursday and Friday. And then next Thursday and Friday are general elections, where you'll vote for vice president and for the presidential elections. And they will be sworn into office April 1st, will be their first day.
Okay, so then that's where the older people come in and say, all right, well, this is how you're going to do your job for next year. Yeah,
so Ian and Taylor, the current president and VP, will kind of guide them in the hiring process a little bit and how that all goes, and also the transition. And then whoever's elected will be in charge of hiring their next kind of board of directors for next year.
Okay, last question before I close this out. Being a PR major and having this experience as public relations director for ASPLU, how are you going to take this experience you've had here on campus and bring it out into the world and give the world a little bit of Lutz?
Well, I think this has been the perfect kind of segue from college life to professional life, is that I will have a lot to bring to the professional world by having this experience, and have a lot to add to my portfolio of things, and have had really great learning moments that PLU really just provides for their students that are available to outside the classroom. So I'm excited to make PLU proud and go out there and show the world what we have.
All right. And that concludes this segment of Beyond the Brochure. Tune in next week for News at 9 at 9 p.m. on Channel 26. For all of us here at News at 9, I'm Christian Dilworth. This is Hillary Powell. Good night.